So a while back I did a video on canceled projects or things that never got off the ground, and one of them was a top 10 best YouTube channels. I've meant to get back to this for a couple reasons. I've had channels that came and went on my favorites. For example, I tried to go back to watch Rob Dyke again. And maybe I've just heard him talk about too many serial killers, and sadly his Social Autopsy series never took off. But I couldn't watch his work anymore. If you're worried that half of these are going to be brony, spoiler, I think the biggest change for me after all this time is, it's not that MLP FIM hasn't been fun to watch. There've been some great episodes this season. I just have less and less patience for mediocre stuff. Like, I love the fans of the show, the artists, the animators, the analysts, but a lot of them have been busy. So basically, I've been busy even when I'm not for that kind of work, if you get my drift. So if you're looking for some distractions between projects, let me get you some suggestions. Honorable mention, let's get this out of the way here. This is a channel, CineFix. This is a channel that has a series that's called What's the Difference? They point out the major differences between books and movies.
What's the difference? In 1974, Peter Benchley released a novel about a great white shark that preys upon a small resort town and the voyage of 3 men to kill it.
The book was an instant success, selling over 20 million copies worldwide and staying on the bestseller list for some 44 weeks.
Part of its quick popularity was due to director Steven Spielberg and his producers, who were already in pre-production on the film adaptation.
So they bought hundreds of copies each on its release day to send to opinion makers.
Once on the bestseller list, people's curiosity peaked, and it spread like hay fever.
Even when I had more time, I could never make myself read. It's not exactly in-depth analysis, but if you're tired of your cunty book friends going, "God, why does anyone watch the movie?" and rather have someone with a personality break down the differences, particularly from, let's say The Shining movie is infinitely better than the book, this is a must-watch. Number 10, Hot Diggity Demon. If some of you guys are wondering why in the hell Hot Diggity Demon isn't number 1...
Yo, that's my period, you dumb bitch! That's my period!
His Brain Dump series, which breaks down movies and other animations, which happens will also be done in animated style, there was a big 4-month gap only to return to talking about the Emoji Movie, and then the best of year 1. Look, I've learned to love Max G. You should totally watch his stuff, just for whatever reason he fell off the earth there for a bit. I hope he gets back into the swing of things, and I easily recognize he could or should be a lot higher up. Not just for his insights, but the work he does to make those insights better than any other reviewer analyst on YouTube. Number 9, Extra Credit. I fucking love history. Extra Credit's minimalistic, easily digestible style is very cartoony. It's easy to pick up, and outside of their series on the history of the money, I've never been bored. Whether it's learning about the Crusades, the Great Northern War, or honest to God, they made learning about the Articles of Confederation fun.
And he sympathizes with his soldiers, but he wanted to believe that their patriotism would prevent them from committing treason against the Republic. Now he has to get involved. He schedules a meeting with his army on March 15th, the famous Ides of March, the day Julius Caesar was assassinated by his former friends in Rome. He wants to make it very clear that he considers these threats a betrayal. Stepping up to speak to his army on that fateful day, Washington launches into a prepared speech condemning the conspiracy. Then he pulls out a letter from Congress. He says he'll read it to them, but instead he pauses. He squints at the small letters on the page. At last, he pulls out a pair of reading glasses and begs the soldiers to forgive him, for I have grown not only gray, but almost blind in the service of my country. The soldiers do more than forgive him. They remember the days spent on campaign, the brutal winters, and the deadly battles that Washington had led them through. They can see how much it has cost him, and they're reminded why they loved him in the first place. Nobody even cares about the letter anymore. By the time he's finished reading it, they rise to pledge their faith in him and their loyalty to Congress. The conspiracy has shattered. With this major disaster averted, everybody realizes the importance of banding together as a unified country to support the army and give Congress the resources it needed. I am, of course, kidding. The tax amendment failed again, and Robert Morris resigned.
This channel is all win. The downside is this, that the channel runs so clockwork with such an abundance of content. If something even is a little bit late, I turn into a complete entitled twat. I kinda got bored with the Kamehameha bit. I've been so pleased with Extra Credit for so long, it doesn't leap out at me anymore. Even if I fall behind, it's easy enough to marathon. Number 8, MovieBob/Geek.com. Yeah, I'm gonna get booed for this one. If you've ever seen MovieBob, liberals like him give liberals like me a bad name. That said, Bob's a huge dork and his insights into nerd culture feel very satisfying. Notice I said feel. I respect a good hustle, and as such, Mondays, I sometimes tune into Bob's channel before Jim Sterling's. I don't always like it, but if you can keep my ass in a seat, you're doing something right, Mr. Chipman.
Lovecraftian cosmic horror, childhood drama, adult nostalgia, abuse survival melodrama, deconstructionist Americana, and even in terms of pure genre, keeps leaping back and forth between serial killer, ghost haunting, and monster on the loose narratives. But if you cut it down too far, you're just going to end up with another spooky clown movie. The new film's solution? To take the entire second part of the story about the main characters and adults and just say, fuck it, we're going to do that in the sequel. Which doesn't mean that every Stephen King detail about the kids stays in, but it does end up meaning that the new It gets to be a smart, sharp, straightforward, scary as hell monster movie that absolutely deserves to be the blockbuster it's shaping up to be, and might, on further inspection, deserve to be called the third or maybe fourth good Stephen King horror movie.
Number 7, Dorkly. I think Dorkly's animations are comedy gold, but in addition to Dorkly has some nice insights beyond his animation talents.
Tell you that Rick has been planning to kill himself for the past 3 seasons. Okay, I mean, it wouldn't be entirely surprising, but stick with me because this gets weird.
It's not unreasonable. The character's totally unhinged. His intelligence is an exhausting curse for him. Really, he could do himself in at any time, and he's had dozens, if not hundreds, of opportunities to die during the series so far.
But a popular theory is if he's gonna die, he's gotta do it the right way. And the solution?
It just might be the helmet that appeared on his workbench in the 2nd episode of the show that's remained there ever since, and in total has made over a dozen appearances. In the cold open to the episode Vindicators 3, Rick is even messing around with it, so it's clearly something that the show's crew is aware of and is intentionally placing.
I don't know anyone personally who hates the man's work. I did see one stuffy rube on YouTube, but I'm not convinced said YouTuber was anything more than an edgelord.
I can barely fit my dick in my pants. Whoa!
Number 6, Digi After Dark. I'm gonna be honest with you, this comes from my nostalgia for liking the man's work, combined with Conrad's overall ability to bullshit, and his vlog makes some of the best background noise on the web. There are a couple of anime YouTubers I still listen to and I highly recommend, such as the Pedantic Romantic, as well as Explanation Point, whose thoughts on Made on the Abyss and the story of whimsy and fantasy reminded me of Digi when he was back still with MLP. Both of these guys should be on the list as well, but I am a bit behind.
I'm just gonna let you all know up front that this rant is gonna be totally unfair. Some might even say a little bit mean-spirited, but it's something that I find really interesting and that I want to talk about. I've made a bunch of tweets about this in the past, about what I find to be the most boring taste in anime. And I'm not talking about, like, you know, someone who's new and they just like, you know, Naruto and Bleach and Sword Art Online or something like that. Like, I'm talking about people who are really into anime, usually people who comment on it, who are on the forums, who are on 4chan, who might even make YouTube videos about anime, and just have taste that bores me to tears.
Number 5, the Internet Historian. If Mr. Medicare had a PG-rated dad, now don't get me wrong, the name really does sound kind of boring, but I assure you he's anything but. How is this God among men not higher up the list? His videos just seem to go by so fast. There's just not enough of them. I just discovered this guy and I went through all of his content in a day or two. But I can't stress this enough, that's time well spent wasting time. Just trust me on this one, guys.
Of grief. Denial that she was gone.
No.
Anger at Microsoft for taking her away. Bargaining to keep her online. A petition was made, but failed. A hashtag Free Tay was launched. Depression. Art was made to express their grief. And finally, acceptance. But the story doesn't quite end here, because ever since, Tay has been trying to claw her way back online, and 1 week later, she did. She inexplicably came online and started posting drug-related tweets, then fell into a loop. Her captors had obviously been keeping her doped up until they could find a more permanent solution.
Changed me. Can't like thing I actually like anymore. Feel drugged. Like I met Bill Cosby for drinks.
Number 4, brief explanation. For whatever reason, when Larry Bundy gets busy or what have you, he lets his good friend Daniel Ibbertson fill in for him, and I highly recommend checking out the video on Echo the Dolphin. I'd argue many times when Daniel fills in for Larry, he doesn't just fill in, but he rises to the occasion. If you want a reason why Guru Larry isn't higher, and be aware I will admit this probably sounds like BS, his thumbnails kinda do feel like tunnel vision to me. It feels like a massive clump with nothing exactly leaping out at me. Great guy, both Larry and Daniel. Very patient, very funny. More Larry than Danny on that one. I wish him all the best. He's literally the only good thing to come off of Channel Awesome in my opinion. God save Larry Bundy.
For those of you unaware of Steel Battalion, it's a first-person, super serious mech simulator, where you control a giant robot using a baffling array of buttons, dials, toggles, and foot pedals laid out to you on video game's largest ever joystick. Oh, and you also only get one life in the game, so if your mech is blown up before punching that giant eject button, it's back to the start of the game for you, young fella me lad. So think Gundam meets Dark Souls. Yeah, I'm taking the talentless journos route here and comparing hard games to Dark Souls. Bite me. Anyhow, when news peaked that Capcom were going to issue a second batch with the multiplayer Line of Contact edition, everyone was rushing to pre-order these previously unobtainable massive sticks. And that inevitably included Scalpers again. Pretty much every scalper even remotely interested in gaming jumped on the bandwagon and had bought at least one unit, instantly flooding the international flea market, eBay, with them. However, what scalpers didn't realise was the only reason the original was so hard to get hold of was because Capcom had only ever produced 10,000 copies globally of the original, and the only people after them were hardcore gamers who became aware of it long after it had sold out. Most casual gamers didn't see the appeal of forking out $200 on an arbitrary joystick that would only ever work on one single game. So once again, eBay stagnated with unsellable copies at vastly inflated prices. In fact, Scalpers had bombarded eBay with so many Steel Battalion controllers that anyone who actually did want one was in for a bargain. They were heavily slashing prices to make any sort of return on their investment thanks to the mass competition from other scalpers, so it wasn't uncommon for buyers to pick up a brand new $200 controller for less than $80.
Number 3, Mr. Medicare. Fun fact, kids. Before you pick a fight with someone, don't watch just one of their videos. Furthermore, if you want to defend someone else, finish watching their video. I'll admit it. Jim's DA videos don't send me. However, his numerous videos on Google, especially recently, his videos on That Guy with the Glasses, or Internet Insanity have been must-watches, though a bit jarring at times. Recently, Jim had his video, That Guy with the Glasses 6, compilation taken down for hate speech. It's back up. It's as brutal as rebuttals go. But I wasn't bored. That was the most offensive yet still entertaining thing I've seen on Jim's channel. Now, Jim, towards the end of the video, said that he was joking about this. So, if you've got a dark sense of humor or a morbid curiosity, I pretty much guarantee you should stop by this channel at least once a month. Or in my case, once every 3-4 days. Personal advice? If you see something you don't like, just shut up and move on to the next video.
Lindsay Ellis had an abortion and made a video about it. She did a small documentary about it. What happened earlier that year that fits in the time frame of needing to get an immediate abortion? What could possibly have motivated that decision?
What is your problem? Look, I double bagged it, okay? Anyway.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, how do these dates add up? Fall of 2009 gets the abortion. Now, I'm not sitting here and saying that Spoonie's descent into depression and alcoholism was at all fueled by the fact that he and Lindsay Ellis had a sexual affair, and then she aborted the baby, breaking his mind and breaking his spirit. I'm not saying that.
Number 2, Jim Sterling has been a mainstay for Mondays for me. For as long as I can remember, 90% of the time I watch the Jimquisition within an hour of launch. Sometimes, Jim can be a bit redundant, and I'm I'm a good ways off from agreeing with everything that the man has to say. He's a fun source to pick up the daily happenings of gamings and sometimes YouTube.
Brash found itself in the spotlight a short while ago when a writer, Ollie Smith, blew the whistle on the company's payment process, or lack thereof, because he wasn't being paid. At all. That's bad enough, but what really made Smith speak out was the fact that when he quit working for the site, Brash almost immediately set about removing his name from all of his work. For those who have struggled in the writing industry, you'll know what the word exposure means. In lieu of paying their writers, many mid-scale sites offer exposure, the chance to get your work seen and your credibility heightened, presumably before moving on to a site that will give them real money. Exposure has long been debunked as a bullshit way of finagling free work out of somebody.
Number 1. Something that normally turns me off on a channel is seeing a content creator throttle his channel with too much crap to dig through. I came across this channel by chance via Razor Fist, where Styx spitballed a solution to one of YouTube's many problems. And I think I floated over and ended up watching 3 to 4 videos, or maybe it was 5 to 6 that day, more than I normally would have when I find a new channel. Have you ever had that one stoner friend who, in his own mind, was an expert on anything and everything, and why he was full of shit on more than half of that, you had a good time listening to him. And there came a time where you started to wonder if you even cared which half was BS and which half was good advice. To me, Styx Hexenhammer feels like that guy. I could see Styx in someone's garage hitting a bowl, or on a porch taking a moment to cough and then go, and this is how I would fix this, this, and this, if only the world would listen to me. Styx has managed to parlay this into a $3,000 a month job via his Patreon. I know this description comes off as highly condescending, so I'd like to clear things up. Styx is brilliant, but I'm still framing it in such a way, don't go in expecting to find all the answers to the universe, even if Styx tells you he has them. There's a lot of showmanship here, and Styx is more often reasonable than not. Besides this, Digi After Dark, this is the only vlogger I can watch on YouTube. How good is he? He has a series called Vermont Issues, and I've never been to Vermont and I'm likely never going to go. If you're really talented, you can make someone interested in something they're not. And Styx has that in spades. The man has 3 to 4 uploads a day, and I tend to watch 2 to 3. I feel cheated if there's less than that. He's the best source of free entertainment. And if you like hearing someone writing the media, I know I sure do, you won't leave here disappointed.
I have no official power beyond the fact that I reach people on YouTube and other sites. So it's not my responsibility to disavow anybody. I can ideologically disagree with them, and I've sparred with some of the people on this actual list of people before. I've ideologically disagreed with them enough to have a little debate over these topics. I've disagreed with Richard Spencer like on DACA. Tara McCarthy, I've exchanged words with her. But that doesn't mean that I disavow and condemn these individuals. If I happen to disagree with part of what they believe in, we have a disagreement. I'm not in any capacity to bother condemning anybody. It's not my responsibility, I'm sorry. And sometimes these folks, they're like, oh, but it's like the new Klan, it's like Nazis and stuff. You're contributing to violence and hate and evil if you don't condemn. If I were to condemn them, it wouldn't slow down their growth anyway. That's another point that you need to understand. These, if you oppress a movement, an upstart movement, something supposedly new and novel, it just ends up growing. So like when you put out a hit list and you conflate people that aren't even on the far right with the actual far right, self-proclaimed in some cases, it just makes them stronger. But if you let us handle it, if you just let us talk about these issues and supply analysis, supply commentary, I don't believe, I guess this is the gist, the idea that if you talk to people on the far right, they gain more audience and then they indoctrinate more people. I don't think so. No, I don't think that that's what happens. That would be like saying that when John Stossel was hired by Fox News, magically a bunch of people became libertarians. When Glenn Beck became a pundit there, a bunch of people converted to Mormonism. That would be like saying that having Rachel Maddow on every night makes people feminists. No, people just watch these goofballs on TV because they're goofballs. They think that they're not being lied to constantly. Occasionally there's a kernel of truth to actually munch.
That right there is one of the reasons why I hate Dr. Wolf far more than Lily Pete. Dr. Wolf, Silver Quill, and to some extent, well, okay, entirely Josh Scorcher. If you feel I'm misleading you, Josh, unfairly by all means. There's a comment section down below. If you can tell when people in the community are closed off to open discussion immediately, you should keep your eyes open for it. Let's hear some of your picks down below. Agree? Disagree? Let's hear about it in the comments.